hey, but I'm like, how do I even know? Nobody looks down at their trucks and smiles. So when you're on the phone, and you're doing something you should, let's just walk away. Look at your phone or doing something that you shouldn't do. Put it away and move on.
You are, yeah.
Brendan's like, oh, I know. Yeah, I like that. Mine is what I told my kids.
Well, delicious. Did you make it?
When your fingers.
I love how you take pictures of your. Oh, this here.
Derek, you like that?
My wife had a birthday there, so.
I mean, you'll be in the middle of a conversation and all of a sudden you'll get a text or something. It's like,
It's a
Well, you had more than I did. I fixed it and then I just left.
We're not in this conversation. I'm very proud of you.
I know. Enjoy without me. Lisa, are we ready?
I think it was great. And did you go 5 a.m.?
Are we live? Tell me when. Okay, we can start. All right, we'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to our, it feels like every night lately, doesn't it? Our city council meeting on October 12th. It is 6:01 p.m. and all council members are in attendance. We'll begin with a pledge of allegiance by Councilman Soderquist and then a prayer by Councilwoman Petty.
Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful for the beautiful city that we live in and for the wonderful rain and moisture we've been able to receive that our valley has so desperately needed. We're so grateful to come together as a community, as members of this city, that we can make decisions on behalf of all of the residents. We're so grateful for all of our fire, our police, all of our military, and all those who spend so much time and hours away from their families on our behalf to protect us. And we ask that will watch over them. Help us that we can have a good meeting and we can get through all of the agenda items and have great discussion and make some great decisions on behalf of all of our city. We're so grateful for all that we have, and we love thee and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilwoman Petty and Councilman Soderquist. All right, our next item is public comment. Please state your name and address. Please take 3 minutes or less. Please address the entire council and know that we will not be responding during public comment. We're now open.
Paul Sturm, 2527 Deer Run Drive. This will be probably my shortest public comment. Anyway, regarding the fire department and the facility site plans, the one question that I don't know if has been addressed or not is what is going to be the cost of the storage building? Because all that should be added up into the cost of the site plan and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, any further public comment? All right, then we will move to our action items. Our first one is the approval of the consent agenda, which consists of the September 14th minutes, the September check register, and the August budget to actual. Are there comments or questions on the consent agenda? Then do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, any further comments? I know, Quinn, you had some changes and those were made.
They were made, yep.
All right. Any other comments? We'll have a roll call vote beginning with Councilman Halverson.
Aye.
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 The motion carries unanimously. Our next item is the public hearing on proposition number 14, Recreation Arts and Parks Wrap Tax. On June 8th, council discussed the possibility of proposing a recreation, arts, and parks sales tax, use tax for the upcoming election. On August 27th, Resolution 21-44 was approved. The proposition was given the number 14, and it was placed on the ballot. A voter information pamphlet was prepared and mailed to every household in South Weber City. This hearing is to allow residents to express their views for or against the proposition. Is there anything that staff or council wants to say before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, everybody's looking at me, so it looks like I am up. The only thing that I would say is we've tried to put as much information as we could on the city website and in the voter information pamphlet as far as answering the frequently asked questions. Things like what is a RAP tax, how much is it, who pays it, how long would it last, those types of things. So we're happy to answer any of those questions if they're still out there. It is a sales tax that the city is able to implement if and only if the vote of the residents approves it. So greater than 50% vote of residents allows the council to then take those steps to implement this tax. It is not a property tax. It is not a franchise tax. It is a sales tax for retail sales within the community. This is the type of tax that cities have the ability to implement based on a section of state code, which again is referenced on the city website under the frequently asked questions. But we're here as staff to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dave. Any comments from council? And do I have a motion to open public hearing for the RAP tax?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now open for public hearing on proposition number 14, RAP tax.
Paul Sturm, 2527 Deer Run Drive. I'd like to commend the staff on their presentation, the staff and the council on their presentation on the explanation of the RAP tax and the persuasive argument that we're already paying it in most of the places that we're shopping outside of the city. And there's no reason why people from outside the city should come into the city, benefit from our parks, recreation, and not be partially paying for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Any other public comment? Then do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We'll now move on from the public hearing. Our next item is a discussion item. It's the fire auxiliary building layout. South Weber City Council first discussed options for this layout in City Council meeting on August 24th. Direction was given to staff to review and provide additional information on the options. Staff has since worked with the Public Safety Committee and taken another look at ways to accomplish the project's purposes at a responsible price while limiting the effects on the park and community. Staff is excited to present an option that previously had been discarded, now with a slight alteration that they feel checks all the boxes and accomplishes all the desires previously expressed in the City Council meeting, including responsible spending, building functionality, and limiting impacts to the property and surrounding park amenities. Staff refers to this as the preferred option. The table in your packet shows that the preferred option not only scored highest in the reevaluation of options, but clearly provides the least overall impact to the property and park amenities. Staff originally looked at placing the building in this location, but removed the option due to the current conditions behind the station with the ramp to the bathrooms. Upon further exploration and reevaluation, staff is confident, bless you. Wow, what's going on over there?
Get that in the notes.
That was great. Okay. Upon further exploration and reevaluation, Staff is confident that the ramp can be removed entirely and access to the bathrooms provided in a different way. This allows greater turning ability for trucks in the rear of the building and allows this option to be considered again. All right. Anything staff wanted to add to that?
No, we're just happy to answer questions if there are any about the various options,
Okay.
information presented.
Comments or questions by the council?
Go for it. As the Public Safety Committee, we were actually, I was kind of surprised to see it in this format because as the Public Safety Committee, we were actually prepared to recommend the option going with the stage removal, because this was not one of the options presented, because they were willing to, we were proposing to replace the stage in a later date. But without having to do that, I think the proposed option is a good option. I think it may make the old timers game have to move to Canyon Meadows a little bit because those bleachers do get full. But I think that's the least impact it could be. To answer Paul's question, maybe Derek can even get into that a little more. That has already been budgeted for, been priced out, and was a different topic and approved. So on the storage building. So this is just a complete different budget item, but that's why it wasn't in the packet.
I believe that's like capital projects in the budget, am I correct? 125,000 for the removal of the civic building and for the storage facility itself. Yeah.
Right. So you will see this come forward just based on procurement process as two separate things. We have a quote for the building, which will come forward as the council approving the spend on that building. And then the actual work for constructing the concrete and putting that in place would have to be bid out with the project details. And so that would come as a separate project, but it's all within the same budget item. Yes.
So if this preferred option is passed by the council, is that just an amendment to the budget, the 55,000, when it comes forward for the removal of, or not, sorry, not for the removal, for the laying of the concrete and things?
No, maybe I didn't make that clear. It was all within the same budget line item. It was
Okay.
considered one project, but it will have to be two separate contracts.
Okay.
One with the.
But the
people bid-
55,000 falls under the 125,000 is what you're saying? Okay, thank you.
Yes. So it was budgeted as one
Oh.
project,
Okay,
but it will come forward as somebody building the building and somebody doing the concrete work.
thank
Two
you.
separate contracts.
All right.
So old timers game can't move because we have movie in the park at YCC, just so you know.
Maybe we need to figure something
The
else
only
out with
thing that
bleachers.
the only thing that will need to move is a portion of those bleachers, and that can just be moved to the other side of where the bleachers are. So
Are
it
are
could
the
be,
bleachers cemented in?
No, if you go, I went out there today and walked around, those bleachers are already moved out of the way.
Oh, they are?
Probably just for measuring, I'm
Did you
sure.
do it?
Yeah. So they can move. I talked to Curtis, and I asked him, how this affects the recreation. He said it's somewhat encroaching, but it's doable.
6 feet is very close.
It's close,
That's your arm span, basically.
probably even mine.
Not quite.
But my
5'2".
thought on that, what would it take to just shift the whole ball game? And I mean, it's just dirt pads where the seats are, or I mean, where the bases are, right? You'd have to move the backstop maybe, but, and that's cemented in. I guess that would be a cost.
there would be a cost to that.
I feel like that's an option that you could explore in the future if it,
Right,
if
yeah.
it really was
Became an
that
issue.
close and you felt like we needed to move it.
So looking at the line item 1, the clear and grub, am I understanding that we do not need to take out that tree that's right next to where the edge of that building will end? Or is that tree included in the clear and grub?
Oh, that tree.
There,
There's 2 trees there and there's one that's really close to the building.
there appeared to be enough room that you wouldn't have to remove it, but we have not, I mean, this is still pretty conceptual, so I can't answer that for sure, I guess.
I think there's a good likelihood that the farthest east tree would have to be removed.
I would think it would.
I was hoping you guys would say we could keep it.
So by the time you dig your footings, it's gonna be out there ways.
Okay, thank you.
I guess what I'm trying to say is we haven't surveyed anything to place any of that, so exactly where that's located in respect to the building, that hasn't been finalized, but the numbers are close.
Thank you.
A question, Brandon, you mentioned that this is conceptual, but does it comply with current codes with setbacks and things of that nature? Or has that been looked at to
Yes.
that point?
Yes.
Okay. My second question is, as this is being brought forward, the two contracts you mentioned earlier, are they gonna be brought forth in a similar time frame? My worry is if we approve one and then the second one comes in and it exceeds the overall budget, would it be possible to bring the two contracts forward within the same time frame?
So the building has already been quoted. That was quoted a while ago. And we've been told verbally that they would hold that quote. So we would want to bring that forward probably sooner rather than later. And if the council says that they're wanting to move forward on the preferred option or any of the options, we would immediately get the documents ready for bid for the concrete work. So the hope is to not have a large time delay between those. I don't know if it would come in the very same meeting, but we would try to bring those as close together as possible.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is the preferred option that's before us today and the quote for the building fall within the budget.
This year, yes, this fiscal year,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Comments or questions?
I do have one. Chief, you know, the rating shows this preferred option from a functionality standpoint to not be as good as, excuse me, some of the other options. What's the reduced functionality?
Just the way the bay doors will sit in conjunction with where the current station is might mean that we have to do 3 or 4, depending on who's driving, a 5-point turn when it comes to backing. And so some of those other options where you could just come, pull up and back straight in, make it more preferred. And then as a fire chief, this is going to sound silly because it is, you have to do everything humanly possible to firefighter proof everything. And so any kind of leniency and space you can give your firefighters is better. So obviously more space is better. And then having more concrete pad and some of those other options for training and stuff is also better. So all those things kind of came into play as far as scoring some of those other options higher from a functionality standpoint. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I think another way to say that is if we were building this from scratch, we wouldn't do it like this. But with the existing conditions of the area, we feel like this kind of is the nice compromise to get what we need or close to it without severely disrupting anything else around it.
Thanks, that was much better.
I like the phrase firefighter proof. That was good.
Mayor, I just want to extend my thanks to staff for going back and re-looking at this. I know it may have been a little rough when we first talked about this, but I think what you brought forward is a more harmonious outcome. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So the opinion of the council, I'm assuming is the preferred option or the recommended option by staff is the one the council prefers.
I support the preferred option.
Do we
I
need-
support the preferred option.
Do we need a motion?
It's a discussion item.
Okay.
No, knowing that the council feels that way, we'll bring back the actual contracts and the actual decision to make those purchases. And like I said, we'll get on the bid documents just as soon as we can.
Yes,
Thank you.
I wanted to second, thank you for going back to the drawing board and kind of looking at this. I think this option works much better for our parks and our fire department and our city. So thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Great job. All right.
Mayor, can I say one more thing, just to the process? I think everybody played a role, and I'm grateful for that. I know at times when we work through public processes, it feels somewhat messy, somewhat convoluted, but the process worked in the idea that we were able to take all of that input, work through it, and come up with a solution that is a good one. And so I appreciate everybody being involved in that in the way that they were, because it got to a result that was a good one. So sometimes a messy process does lead to a good outcome, and that's a good thing for us. So I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Well, that reflects well on staff being willing to go back to the drawing board and look at that and consider other options as well. We appreciate that from you too. Oh, did I not have that on? Oh. You heard me though, right? All right. Our next item is new business. Is there any new business?
I have just one quick one. I was speaking with Brandon Jones earlier today about this, but just for the council to be aware, there is a part of 1900 East that does not have sidewalks. I've brought it up a couple of times. It's in a pretty precarious place. It's right at the top of the bluff on the west side of 1900 East, and also on the east side of 1900, right on that bluff. I did get comments that a kid walking home from church recently was almost hit by a car right at the top. So Brandon let me know that we are looking into getting a grant from, is it TIB? T-I-B?
TAP.
TAP. Oh, so close. So we'll hear back later in November, but I think that if this grant doesn't come through, we probably need to be looking at some possibilities of prioritizing that. It is a pretty precarious spot, so.
Is that something perhaps our street scan program would give us information on?
Well, this is the need for a new sidewalk, and really what Street Scan is giving you is the condition of your existing sidewalks. So, but it definitely, in my opinion,
They could at least notate that there's nothing there, right?
Right. Yeah, you won't see
Okay.
anything there. But it definitely is a safety concern. I mean, it should be a high priority to try to get something done there, in my opinion.
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then we'll move to reports. I apologize. I don't have much, but tomorrow night, the redistricting committee will be hosting a public hearing at Clearfield High School starting at 6 p.m. You can also go to betterboundaries.org for frequently asked questions, to give your input, and to make a map to share for your ideas of how you would like to see the finalized redistricting map look. So that's tomorrow night at 6 at Clearfield High School, if anyone
That's
wants to.
redistricting for what?
For Senate, State Senate,
okay.
State House,
Okay.
Congress,
School boards as well?
school boards, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Councilman Windsor.
I get to go first. Thank you. I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Oh, dang. All right.
Every week he asks, am I going to go first this week?
Oh, really?
You made his night and he had nothing. I am just excited to report. I am stoked. We have some awesome community support for our bike track. We're making progress there. So we have some donations coming in and it's fantastic. So when I have more information, I'll report more, but that's where we're at. So hopefully we have a solution for that. That's it.
When you say donations coming in, is there like a place where people can donate, or donations from people working on the track? Is that what you mean?
Both.
Yeah.
We have someone who's willing to donate a bunch of material for it, and people who are willing to donate time to help grade it. And so it really will be a community project when we're done, but we're still working out final details on everything. So
Wonderful.
we would love anyone who's willing to help us.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Thanks, Angie. Councilman Soderquist.
So I will give an update on the dust and gravel pit discussion. It won't be as long as last time, but we did meet again with the gravel pit representatives. Had a very good discussion a couple weeks ago. going through all the data, talking about the different things that they can do and are going to be trying to do. There are things that Staker Parson has identified that could be contributing to, excuse me, some of the significant dust that's blowing south towards the bluff. They're actively working on kind of the southwest portion of their pit, and there's a whole bunch of exposed loose material there that they're going to try to come at from a different direction so that the loose material is not always, on the windward side of where they're working. So that's something that'll take a little bit of time for them to, shift their approach to removing it, but we'll be moving forward. This last week, the past couple of weeks, it's been over 2 weeks since we were here and reported. Anyway, long story short, 2 weeks ago, our total dust amount in all of our accumulation boxes was about the same. This past week, it dropped because of all the rain we had. But unfortunately, it didn't drop everywhere. There, like I said, on the South Bluff, it actually went up, even though we had the rain. And that's probably due to, the activity that's going on in the pit right now. But the flip side, the northern part of our city, the dust amount has actually dropped to about 1/5 to 1/10 of what it had been earlier. So some of the reclamation efforts that Sticker is doing on that portion of their pit appear to be having some improvements. So some pluses, some negatives with the report. We also did come across a study that was done about 20 years ago when there was a real significant dust problem blowing into the Cambridge apartment area. And they had the Department of Air Quality come out and do a study, or environmental quality come out and do a study for almost 2 years, 2001 to 2003, monitoring the dust. And they were also monitoring the small particle fine dust that was blowing through. And they found that from the small particle fine dust evaluation, there were no days that exceeded the limits they have, but there was one day that was very, very close. And when they checked the weather information for that day, actually, it was a day when there was a huge windstorm coming from the south. So stuff blowing off from the dump, and the stuff above us to the south was actually apparently the cause for the very high levels of fine dust. But we still need to move forward with our own evaluation and trying to see what it is now. But that was an interesting bit of information from that report. And I think that's about it. Any questions?
I have a couple if I may.
Yeah.
I noticed today the Geneva pit had some fresh excavation on there. I'm going to call it Eastern Slope, right across the street from Sure Steel. I thought that they weren't doing any excavation over there in the ag area until that got rezoned, or am I mistaken as to where they're actually working in that zone?
Yeah, so they are not actually in the ag zone. They are in the natural resource zone where they're doing that active work. Staff went and looked into that and staked out where that zone is, and they are in the natural resource zone. They are not doing any work in the ag zone.
And can we get an update as to the decision of procuring monitors? Are we heading down that path? Did we get some costs, or is there any report on that aspect of it?
Yeah, the report is that staff is researching the options for that. We don't have a recommendation yet.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Soderquist. I forgot one other little piece of information. The landfill is in the process of putting the final cover on the third tier. And they were telling us that for the next 3 weeks, it could be a little smellier because they've had to cut back on their gas exchange system. They've had to close it down for that final cover. So it might get worse before it gets better, but it will get better very soon. So that's good news. Councilwoman Alberts.
I have nothing to report.
All right. Councilman Halverson.
Just two quick things. The Hill Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board, the indoor air sampling program was sending out letters this week. I believe the mayor should have got a letter from the base. Did you get a letter?
I have not.
So
seen-
those letters will be going around this week, and then if they don't get many responses, they'll actually go door to door again to try to
Oh.
reach any residents in the OU1 and OU2 areas that had any issues, mainly in the OU2. I believe
For the wells or for,
it's just the indoor air sampling.
oh, okay.
They do it every
okay.
year.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is just the same thing that they're doing as they do every year, send out the notices, but yeah, you were
Okay.
supposed to receive a letter.
Yeah,
I'll say something at the
I've
RAB
not
meeting,
seen that.
Like, because she's mayor or because of where she lives?
because she's the mayor.
Okay, but I was gonna say she's
All
nowhere near
mayors,
it.
it said all mayors will receive a letter. That's why I was just making sure that's what it said. So it says all mayors will be made aware by Colonel Carroll. So, if anybody has any questions on that, I can get them the contact information. Please contact me. It's, but his name is Mark Ranowski, that is over that. The, only other item is that we'll be having a RAB meeting on the 28th.
All right, thank you, Councilman Halverson. I didn't hear anyone say anything about the trick or treat.
No, you didn't. The Youth City Council is partnering with the Recreation Department. We're gonna do a trick or treat in the park, October 23rd from 4:30 to 6. So we'll have some bouncy houses and it'll be fun.
Which
Open-
park?
Central Park. Thank you.
Hey, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Just thinking ahead of time, are we able to reach out to our animal services for, we have two events coming up in parks, the trick or treat and the
Whatever.
Halloween train event, to have an animal control
I can
officer
call that
there.
guy.
Is that,
Yeah.
would that be appropriate? Sure. Thank you.
Good idea.
Let me say, not that guy. I'm sorry. His name's Officer Logan from the Davis County Animal Sheriff. I will contact him. Thank you.
Animal sheriff.
Animal control.
Animal care and control.
You didn't know?
I did not know that.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, Michelle had a question. Recreation and the Youth City Council.
All right. Hopefully all of staff is participating in that. And council.
Yeah, and council.
And
Blair.
council. All right. Dave.
Just a quick report on the conferences that I attended. The Utah League of Cities and Towns annual convention took place, and then that was followed by the International City Management Association conference that I attended as well. Both of those went really well. The conversation at the league, I think, is expected, in that it was very much about growth challenges along the Wasatch Front and the housing situation and just all of the challenges, transportation and housing and infrastructure and asset management and all of those types of things that come with just the challenges of growth. The City Management Association conference had more to do with kind of best practices, and I will say that it was one of the better conferences that I've attended in terms of sessions and content. I was really excited to walk away with quite a number of items from that I think can help me as a city manager and hopefully help the city as we continue to move forward. I will say that it was interesting to be in Portland and to see very clearly how policies from the city council and the administration of city policies and staff actions and how it affects a city. Granted, it's a very different scale than South Weber, but it was clear to see some of the challenges that a city like that is having, boots on the ground kind of a thing that we are not experiencing in the same way. But just how important it is to have elected officials and have staff that is working together and moving forward to make the community a great place to live and work and play. And they sound like trite phrases, and I think at times we take them like that. But to see that and witness that, and then have conference sessions that
talked about it was really enlightening for me, and just another, moment for me to recognize, not only that we have it really good in South Weaver, but we have it even better than really good. We have it great when it comes to the processes that we have in place and the work that is being done. And we have examples every day of that. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it. So that's the report that I have.
Could that be our new slogan?
Not just
We're
great.
even
really great.
better than really good.
As long as we add in for all ages and abilities.
Okay, yes, definitely. And I was pleased to know that we didn't have any catastrophes. Usually when Dave goes out of town, there's something that happens that I'm like, oh, good timing. But no, this one went.
I'm glad you don't count last Tuesday's meeting as a catastrophe. Thank you.
No, we don't.
We talked about fiber.
Fiber, yep. Actually went pretty well.
It was really good. It was better
I've
than really
heard
good.
better than really good. Yeah. I like it. Better
Even
than
better.
really good. I've heard good reports about that, and I'm excited about the direction. So,
Great.
thank you.
All right, Trevor.
I just want to make you aware there's a few items that we're bringing forth to the Planning Commission, namely parking in residential zones and our, now I lost it. I was just writing about it earlier today. There we go, our private right-of-way ordinance. Thank you, Brandon. You have a lot of codes swimming in your brain, you forget which ones you're talking about. So private right-of-ways, those are coming to the Planning Commission for a discussion. So just so you're aware of what those were looking like. This is gonna mostly impact code committee, but we want to let you know that we have been working on our code enforcement code to better the process, so that's going to be coming forward to code committee next week. So I just want to report back, since that was a discussion item a few weeks ago. Other than that, everything else is going well. So
Do we have a code committee next week?
Yes, we do.
I thought we had 3.
that 3 weeks went.
Wow, that went way fast. Okay. I guess we're back at it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Trevor. Brandon, do you have anything?
I just wanted to let you know that last week we were able to get the street scan done. So timing worked out great as far as their ability to come and do the street scan. Weather is kind of a factor. You want the pictures to look good and to have good weather. Unfortunately, they were able to get here before any of the current weather came in. It took them about a day and a half, but that's all done. Now, we don't have the data back yet, but the actual work the data collection has been done.
Did they say the roads were pretty clear of cars and obstacles?
What I discovered is that the driver who went out, he met with us for about a half an hour and kind of explained what he does. They're very vigilant in if he finds one day that there is or a certain part of the day that there's something going on that makes it difficult for him to get a really good image, then he will just continue to go back. He'll sometimes, talk to contractors, ask them to move their things. And so he was actually pretty proactive. I'm sure you'll have some parked cars on the side of the road, but I was very happy with their quality control. And I think we're going to have a great product there.
Good.
Did they do all the sidewalks as well, or just?
No, the sidewalks, they haven't done the sidewalks yet. This was just the streets.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Chief. Oh, yes.
Can I add one more thing?
You bet.
I forgot to mention, thank you, Paul. We all need a Paul. Planning Commission is not this Thursday. We had rescheduled it for next Wednesday due to scheduling conflicts with some of the Planning Commission. So it is next Thursday or next Wednesday on the 20th, not this Thursday. Did I say that right, Paul? Did I get it right?
It is not this Thursday, it is next Wednesday.
What he said.
All right. Thank you. Chief Tolman.
Just a couple updates. Our medic unit went live October 1st. and we ran our first medic call within 2 hours of going live. So
Wow.
paid off pretty quick. And then dispatch, all the dispatch centers in the county are consolidating electronically. And that's going to be like an 18-month process. There will be a cost to the city, but that number is yet to be determined. But it will be, that's kind of happened as a result of all the other movement in the county. But ultimately, it's going to provide a better service for South Weaver. So that'll be great.
So that will fix the issues that you've had with dispatch.
Hopefully, it will fix some of the issues we have with dispatch. I'm not going to hold my breath on some of the other ones, but that will just help it. So with all the paramedic stuff, that all the dispatch centers will be able to work together better to get the closest units to where they need to be.
That's good.
Do we have a time frame on when the cost of that, that will come to us?
I was told it will happen next year.
Okay.
That's the window I was given. I know the fire chiefs that were in attendance made it clear that, hey, we need to be able to budget for this. And so they said that plan on the latter half of next year, which means we could budget for it in next year's budget. So
Okay.
that's kind of what, for now, that's what we're planning on.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question to Councilmember Alberts. The fee schedule we established for ambulance services, is that going to be relooked at next year's budgeting cycle? Now that we're running 3 on an ambulance, does our rate for fee for ambulance services going to change to the insurance companies?
So the state of Utah sets ambulance billing rates.
Okay,
We have no control over that.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Yes, Dave?
Can I add one thing that I think will be interesting for the council? We are in the process of hiring in a couple of departments. You will see our new job board out there on the city website. If you go to that, it's really slick in being able to accept applications and process through that, which is really exciting internally. But the thing that is interesting, and this is a challenge that I think a lot of organizations are facing, but we are facing it very astutely right now, and that is finding good help. We have had a couple of positions that we have advertised for recently where we have had to re-advertise. And so we're struggling right now to find the help that we need as a city. And so that's kind of a bug in the ear that, staff's doing all we can to try to, make that happen. And we're using the different resources that we have available to try to fill those positions. But it is a challenge, and it's a tough market right now. And there's just a lot of things at play, I think, on a lot of levels that are making that difficult. But we're working through that, and hopefully we'll get to the end of that. But know that is taking place right now, and we're trying to work through that as a staff.
It goes without saying that the most important asset the city has is its personnel. So thank you.
Yeah. So council's going to have to fill that role. Blair, you're on tomorrow.
As long as we rotate. I'm in.
Now that was a creative solution. I like it.
Yeah, I can answer a phone.
Not very kindly.
That's debatable.
Maybe not, I won't sound
That's
good. I won't
debatable.
sound like Friday does, I'll tell you that.
All right. Thank you, staff. Michelle or Lisa, do you have anything? No. Wow. Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. That's a record.